You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Good evening, 6:30 p.m., February 9th, 2026. The Select Board regular business meeting to order. If you are able, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being broadcast live on TCTV, Cable Station 8, and on the YouTube web platform. A recording will be available on TCTV YouTube channel later. Is anyone else recording this meeting at this time? I would ask you all to please silence your phones at this time. As a reminder, public participation will be limited to citizen input, maximum 3 minutes per person, so as to be fair to all. This meeting is governed by the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law and Select Board Policy. Meeting of the board to conduct its business. We have town employees, board members who need to be places in the morning, as well as residents who may be watching from home and who may lose interest. The meeting's going over 4 hours. The first item up is approval of meeting minutes. January 5th, 2026.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 5th, 2026.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. On the motion, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Vasso?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We have no executive session minutes in front of us this evening. Is there anyone for citizen input? One. Record, please state your name.
Of course. My name is Gage Pacier. I'm a resident at Farnsworth Road, and I'm speaking in my capacity as the chairman of the Cable TV Advisory Committee tonight, but also as a private citizen as well. I was unable to be present for the last select board meeting, but so I had to review it online after the fact and also look at the minutes, which just approved. So hopefully there wasn't a change between when I printed it this morning and now. But I wanted to address some of the issues I saw in the meeting and in general sense. There's no information about TCTV or its operations that have been private or hidden. It's something that regularly gets investigated, looked at, and then given the thumbs up. There have been quite a few voices on the select board and other boards stating that TCTV needs to be funded. And I'm concerned by some of the language I heard in the previous meeting that the conclusion is not that TCTV needs to be funded, but we need to reduce services until we can meet the amount of funds coming into TCTV. For those not aware, TCTV is funded primarily and almost exclusively, to my knowledge, unless I'm taking comments on this, of course, by revenue coming from the cable provider, an amount that continues to shrink every year because of people like me who refuse to subscribe to cable TV. And therefore, my entire subscription to Comcast, because I am still a Comcast customer, does not fund TCTV. And the more households that do that, reduce the funding further. The last piece on that I want to mention, I was disappointed to hear that the personnel costs were a cause of concern. I think that in Templeton, We do not pay wages for people to live comfortably, nor do we give the benefits that allow people to deal with low pay to live comfortably. And all we have left are the people who are passionate about what they do. And the only thing that we deserve, the only thing that we serve by reducing the decorum in our meetings and when we talk to each other is getting rid of that passion. And if we have no pay, no benefits, no passion, we aren't going to be able to hold on to our employees or our volunteers. So with that in mind, I hope that those of you who have publicly stated that we need to fund TCTV, if you don't like the alternatives being provided to you, that you find some that we can work on instead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other citizen input? Hearing none. Mr. Ryan?
Yes, thank you. So quick town administrator update. I just want to mention I went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting a few weeks ago and met with the people there who run that organization. There were several mayors and managers, and they were meeting with us to just get a pulse on what was going on in the towns. And they seem like they're really willing to help and speak on our behalf with the state and other stakeholders. So it was a great meeting, and I was happy I went. Just want to mention, because it's of public interest, a recent foreclosure property that is no longer in foreclosure. The McValley LLC has paid back their taxes and interest in full, and so the complaint for foreclosure in land court has been withdrawn. Redeem A property falls under Mass General Law, Chapter 60, Section 68. Total sum of money paid back was $525,738.14 for Holman Street parcels 6-04.23, 22, and 21. The property now belongs to them, and we no longer have any right to foreclosure. Update on Scout Hall. The Scout Hall project is complete, other than a few punch list items. TCTV is moving back in, and the insurance adjuster is going to come out and do a final sweep of that building. So we're very happy that that is up and running, and TCTV is going to get their home back. And it is with great sadness and sorrow that I announce to you that Bob Sozik is retiring, his final day being Monday, October 19th, 2026. We will be preparing a job description for the position and I will be working with the select board in the near future on that. We will also be bringing the board an extension to his contract so that we can maintain Bob's services through October, because his contract currently expires on June 30th. And that is my report for tonight.
Thank you, Jared.
You.
Thank you. Under new business, the first item is the introduction of a new employee, Miss Renette Manisy.
So I don't think she's here. I just, introduction as in, I'm just going to announce that she has been hired as a part-time office assistant in sewer. Jeff Aldridge went through a number of applications and interviewed a number of people, and she was the best qualified for the position, and she, I think, started last week. So we just wanted to announce that to the board.
The next item, we have two appointments. One is to concerns the planning board, which is an elected entity, and Mass General Law requires a joint meeting. It's Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 11. A joint meeting with the select board and the remaining members of that board to vote on someone to fill in the open position until the next annual election. Let's see, we have members of the
Yeah, we have a
board.
quorum, I think, yes.
So at this time, and the way this goes is the planning board will call themselves to order. there will be a motion and a second from the select board. Then there'll be any discussion, and then there will be a vote of the select board and the planning board combined to appoint this person of interest. So at this time, I would ask the planning board to call their board meeting to order.
How do we go about doing that? Just,
You just, like you normally do. So
yell and scream at people with my tablet.
No.
I demand order.
the motion for the planning board to open their meeting at 6:39.
6:39. I'll second that. Okay, motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Who else we got here?
Adam,
Oh, never met Adam, okay. All right, so Lori, why don't you tell them who our do we have one candidate, two, just one now?
just one candidate.
Okay, a woman from town, Nicole Roberts, she put her, resume in. She currently works at the town of Winston in the planning department. Very well qualified, basically almost overqualified, considering everybody usually just steps in from, let me give it a try. So I think the board, and we've discussed it, but we can vote it tonight that we recommend Nicole Roberts for the job.
Good. So your meeting has been called to order. So at this time, I would make a motion to appoint Nicole Roberts to the planning board for a term ending at the next annual town election.
Second. Do we need to state what, it's a remainder of a 5-year term, and that doesn't recognize that, right? Just to the next election, because I do it.
Until the next
Okay.
election.
Yes, Chair.
Any discussion on this appointment? Hearing none, and according to Mass General Law, this is a roll call vote. So on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Vasso?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett is yes. Mr. Machete?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Then that motion carries. So,
And wait, just 1 second, Jeffrey, would I just got a motion to adjourn? Right? I'll second that. All right.
All in
All in
favor?
favor? Okay, thank you. Yeah, politics.
and we are done with planning board. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, the next appointment is Ashley Racette. You have her interest form to the Agricultural Commission. This will be an appointment till June 30th, 2026.
And Ashley is with us.
So I would make a motion to appoint Ashley Racette to the Agricultural Commission for a term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Vasso?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. Enjoy your time on the.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
She actually brings a lot of knowledge. So
Excellent.
Thank you for volunteering.
Thing there, so he does.
Excellent.
So, Ed, thank you for volunteering. And hopefully we'll see you in June and you can do more time.
we will.
Next item is full hearing for a repeat guest, Mr. Tom Berry. This will be a public hearing for the board to discuss and vote on the relocation of pole number 1 on Davis. At this time, I would move to open public hearing for the purpose of relocating pole number 1 on Davis Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
Yes.
And Ms. Bennett is yes. At this time, Tom, you come on up. Right, could you just state your name, please?
Good evening. Yes, Tom Barry, with the light department. So I'm here tonight. The light department, would like to replace the poles on Davis Street. It's another street that we're, doing some upgrades on, and pole number 1 to the feed pole on State Road is a rather long span. So we would like to just move it a little closer to State Road by about 35 feet, kind of even those two out. Now it's gonna help us when we run new wire on those poles.
Is there anyone here that lives on Davis Street or that rate has anything to say about this? Does the board have any questions, not opinions or debate, but just any clarification on the movement of the pole or the reason why? Short, sweet. Hearing no questions, no one in the audience has anything for or against it.
They seem to know what they're doing. They seem to know what they're
Close
doing.
the
So,
public
yeah.
hearing regarding
Good.
movement of light pole number 1 on Davis Street.
Second.
On the motion to close the public hearing, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? On the motion to close the hearing, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett, yes. I would now make a motion to approve the relocation of pole number 1 on Davis Street as presented.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions for Tom, any debate by the board?
Not a question, just a general comment. Tom, once again, Templeton Power and Light. You guys are like rock stars. On top of this, the letters short, sweet, to the point, just making the upgrades we need to make, keeping the interruptions to a minimum. Can't ask for better. I look at the surrounding towns with what we see happening around us and bar none.
We appreciate that.
Yep. No, we appreciate what you do for the entire community.
Thank you.
Any further comment, questions? Seeing none. On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
Yes.
Well, yes. Thank you again, Tom.
Okay. Thank you,
Always a
everybody.
pleasure.
Thank you,
Have a good
Tom.
night.
Thank you.
And now, next several items are quarterly reports from various departments. The first one is the accounting department.
Amber DuPel, Town Accountant. You guys have the report that was submitted, so I'm not gonna read off of it, but there were a few things that I just wanted to touch on. Free cash and retained earnings was certified. General fund is $559,673. Sewer enterprise is $161,464, and the cable enterprise is $24,026. Those are final certified numbers by DOR and will not change between now and June 30th. The other thing I wanted to touch on a little bit was the BVAs. So each department can have cyclical needs. I know sometimes when looking at the BVAs, you want to look at, well, we're at 50% of the month, but someone's at 90% or someone's at 20%. Some of the biggest things that drive some of those are typically licenses or continuing education. For instance, in my department, the accounting classes are typically in March, so you won't see a lot of my funds used until March. Depending on the department and when their licenses are due, they may be 90% expended in July, they may be 90% expended in December. The other thing I wanted to touch on was a little bit of a difference between the accounting side and the treasury side. Seems like often there might be a little confusion, and I just wanted to help clear up some of that confusion. Accounting funds do not equate to bank accounts. So whether it's your general fund, your enterprise fund, a special revenue fund, they are all individual funds, but they don't necessarily tie to a specific bank account. This is important to keep in mind because each fund type has its own specific laws and regulations around where revenue goes. 9 times out of 10, revenue has to go in the general fund, unless there's a special legislation that changes that. At the same token, there are also specific laws and regulations around where money can be invested and which funds get to keep their interest and which ones go into the general pool of the town. So those were just a few things that I wanted to touch upon based on things I've learned while I've been in Templeton, things I've seen asked, or questions that have come up. But if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those too.
I'm good.
Anyone have any?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Picking up the treasurer.
Segue right into me. I have. Oh, wow.
More paperwork.
Okay.
Where do you see what I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
give you later?
Is this high mark?
It's just informational, really. Typically, my quarters don't change. Real estate bills, motor vehicle bills, municipal liens, we did 57. Danielle and I attend as many association meetings as we can. A lot of them are online now. DLS and Worcester Regional had one during this quarter that we attended. But what you have there is Bartholomew's came in and did our yearly trust fund review. And this is a new law that was changed, prudent investor. I've been trying to get this brought up several times now, but it has to go to town meeting for a vote. And I've been shot down several times. Finally think we can get this through. This will allow Bartholomew's to invest in a broader range of categories. We can invest more of our money. It just gives them a little bit more leeway in where they can put some of our funds. So it's just helpful to the town to help get us better interest. And so I printed that off. It does have the vote on the bottom of how a vote should read at town meeting. So, I mean, if that's something we could do for the next meeting and get this approved, Bartholomew's would be able to start that right away. But other than that, my numbers are there. And if they have to, they would come and speak as well. They've told me that. If anybody had any questions on what it is.
Regarding different investments and getting better return on the money, that's something that has been in the management letter from the auditors for at least 3 years.
We do have MMDT now, which they recommended, and I have had that for a couple of years. We do get good interest on that each month, so
If we
I
can-
try to dump what I can into that fund because it's
If we can make another move that will improve that picture, I think it's
Okay. Yeah, it would be nice if we could do that. And other than that, my quote is pretty straightforward, but if anybody has any other questions.
Anyone have any questions? You're escaping, you better run.
Jeff,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just be put on our next agenda so we can vote on
And the next item, item F, is the assessor.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Hello, members of the board, Justice Graves, Deputy Assessor. So I'll just go over some of the highlights on it. As you well know, on December 3rd, the state approved the tax rate recap and set a tax rate of $11.87, which is a decrease of 25 cents from last year's rate. Same situation as usual as we talked about during the tax classification hearing last November. As assessments have gone up, the tax rate has gone down in turn because of the way that that is calculated, where it is the total budget of the town divided by the assessed value of the town. Thank you to everybody on the finance team, and especially Amber, because we were able to get that done in a timely fashion so that we could do a timely commitment for the third and fourth quarter actual tax bills. Just as a reminder that tax exemptions are still available if residents are interested. The deadline to apply for those is April 1st of 2026. Any approved would be put on the fourth quarter tax bills. Other than that, right now, 162 exemption applications as of the last quarter were approved, totaling over $97,000. An additional 10 senior work-off applications were also processed, taking an additional $4,100 off of overlay. Over 7.1 million was committed in the real estate, and 88,500 was committed for personal property. Over 166,000 was done in community preservation surcharge funds for the third and fourth quarter as well. And the third and fourth quarter also includes totals for the Title V septic loans and an additional 104,000 in sewer liens, and 3,700 in electric liens were also committed onto the actual tax bills. Motor vehicle commitment number 6 came out and was done. The last commitment to be released during the calendar year of 2025. December 1st was the deadline for all of our enrolled chapter land properties, and all of them did return their paperwork in a timely fashion. During the quarter, I noted that there was one new single-family home that received occupancy during the quarter. Overall, that's only one new single-family home that received occupancy to date, and that is still true as of today. In comparison, when we're looking at the second quarter, at the end of the second quarter last year, there were 3 single-family homes that received occupancy, and in fiscal year 2024, that total was 8. So just something to keep in mind moving forward. The end of the year, our office mails out a bunch of paperwork, income and expense forms, forms of list, 3 ABCs for our nonprofit entities. And new to the quarter, we conducted a review of our exemption amounts and for senior work-off as well, whether that be for seniors clauses 41C and 17D, or for our veterans clauses 22 or the blind clause 37. The review continued into the third quarter. You did receive our articles for submission for the annual town meeting this year. So just be aware that that was submitted during this period. Other than that, there were other activities that our office conducted as well. But those are the main highlights that I wanted to bring to the select board's attention. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to, if you could remind people that just because the tax rate goes down does not mean the real estate bill is going down.
Correct. No. So the way that the tax rate is calculated is based off of the total assessed value of the town, being the denominator, and then the total budget of the town being the numerator. It's a fraction multiplied by 1,000, which is what gets you the 1187 that you're at. So just because the tax rate drops doesn't mean that any individual property is going to see a reduction in their tax bills. The assessed valuations change every year based on the market. If the market says a certain class of properties will be at a standstill or decrease, it doesn't necessarily mean, even with a decrease in the tax rate, that those individual tax bills will go down. Same with an increase. It doesn't necessarily mean that those tax bills are going to go up as much as one might believe. They might go up more than others, but it's on an individual property by property basis. So if anybody has any questions about that, again, it's all based off of, you don't know until you set the tax rate really what properties will or will not see the increase or decrease in their taxes per year. And it fluctuates year by year. Every single class of properties sees it at different times. But just keep in mind that, again, just because the tax rate goes down, the town is levying more than it has in the past. So it means that more revenue is coming from the taxpayers. So that is something to keep in mind when looking at that figure. And again, when the market changes, because it does change, just because the tax rate goes up does not mean that your tax bill goes up, but it also doesn't mean that it goes down either. So it's a seesaw effect, really, in terms of what happens. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Anything further from the board? Thank you.
One thing I do want to say is congratulations on getting elected president of the Worcester County Assessors Association.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Justice.
The next item is developmental services.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Gotta be different.
I gotta read it.
Gotta be different. We've kind of changed up the way we've been doing our reports a little bit. We tried to make it shorter. It didn't work. So I'm just gonna give you a couple of highlights, if that's okay. And then if there's anything you have questions on, I'll be happy to answer them. As director of the department, it's actually repetitive what we do or what I do. I think some of the highlights are I came back to work, and I'm very thankful for everybody who helped while I was out. Administrative work, we had an open meeting law complaint that we took care of with regard to the annual town meeting and, I'm sorry, fall town meeting and our chair. She might have noticed she's a little bit passionate and went right over that one. We worked on getting quotes for our electronics shed, which is very full at the moment. Most people will come take what's in it for a small or no cost because of what they take out of the equipment. So we'll be hopefully getting that done in the spring. Attended many meetings. Communicable disease. I think we did really good with COVID-19 compared to some other areas. We had reported 71 molecular tests in those 3 months, and there were 3 positive results. We did excellent with mosquito-borne illnesses. It didn't come out this far, so we're very lucky. We were continually low risk. And no reports from epidemiology. We had no measles, mpox, or any other notable communicable disease. The Board of Health, it's pretty much a lot of the same thing. For the first time in my life, I think I denied something. A request to forego a Title V inspection for sale at 8 4th Street. It really needed to be inspected, so I said no. Other than that, there was really nothing all that notable.
Yep.
Conservation Commission. It's just as usual standard things. Templeton moved from a level 3 critical drought in October to a level 2 significant, and then level 1, which was mild. She tells me we are back in a drought situation until the snow melts. 13 site visits were conducted during the quarter in support of enforcement, monitoring, pre-construction, spill response, and certificates of completion. So about halfway through Jess's report for conservation, she lists what she actually issued, and between emergency certifications, we had a hydraulic leak on North Main that was taken care of, and we had a dam breach near the landfill, kind of between Crow Hill and our entrance to the landfill. The agent responded to resident inquiries regarding wetland jurisdiction and notice of intent application procedures. She participated in Zero and Nero Stormwater Review Network meeting, prepared weekly, quarterly, and the annual report this year, and drafted Conservation Commission meeting minutes. Jess also covers community preservation. During the Q2, they focused on advancing funded projects, supporting CPC warrant articles at town meeting, managing grant award agreements, and conducting financial oversight. CPC submitted 4 warrants and held 2 meetings on October 9th and December 11th, with the November 13th meeting canceled. The Templeton Housing Authority appointed Louise Chafee to sit on CPC. The projects were Memorial Congregational Church, Grange Hall, Boynton Public Library, and the Senior Center. And lastly, in Q2, the Houghton Park Playground project was closed out, and Templeton received a state CPA match of $161,000. Representing 56.2% of the requested match. It exceeded percentage. It exceeded what we thought we were going to get, so that's a good thing. The planning board was very quiet, except when he was here. And of note, we also lost Frank Machete, and that's been talked about quite extensively. He was very knowledgeable and will be sorely missed. Meeting of October 15th. I'm sorry, I'm heading into the ZBA. 1 Caruth Road, they heard and approved a request to reduce frontage. And 11 3rd Street, they heard and approved, again, reducing frontage. One was for a storage shed, and the other was for construction of a garage. The 20-day appeal periods for both happened and were filed correctly with the Registry of Deeds. Agriculture had a slow 3 months also. There were a couple meetings where there wasn't a quorum when there was one expected, and they did kind of an informational type meeting and talked about the farmer's market and animal issues, crops and harvests. The building department during Q2 had 59 building permits. The value was $1,986,22 with associated fees of $17,166. There were 50 electrical permits with associated fees of $23,600, 22 plumbing permits, associated value of $4,600, 18 gas fitting permits with associated fees of $2,000. There were 62 building projects have been closed with 7 occupancy certificates issued. And 55 certificates of completion. We are still leaning heavily on John Largy and Gerhard Fandryer to fill in for Daryl Sweeney while he is still healing. They're doing an excellent job. They've been great to work with. That's it. No,
Any questions, comments from the board?
I'd just like to say, welcome back
thank you.
and good to see you walking on too.
That feels good too. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Now.
Hello.
Becky.
So over at the library, this quarter, the Stitching Group and Story Hour both met weekly. The Library Board of Trustees met 5 times this quarter, primarily discussing issues related to the upcoming renovation project. They're meeting tomorrow. The final 2 state reports were completed and submitted. I found out early in the 3rd quarter that we were approved for certification, which is great. I presented to Capital for library and senior center projects. I attended advisory to discuss the need for additional funding for the senior center. Been coordinating this quarter and the 2nd quarter and the 3rd quarter with Monty Tech's cabinet making instructor and students. They're doing quite a bit of shelving projects for our renovation, and they adapted a shelf in the children's room that's affording us a lot more space. I can't say enough about how great they've been to work with. I would urge any of my colleagues to pursue that if they have anything in mind. They've been fantastic, and that's to say nothing of the savings. Lent support to the COA meeting, completed my part of the MART reports for those months. Participated in some trainings for the new online language platform for our library patrons, which finally debuted in the 3rd quarter, and I'm hearing a lot of great feedback about it. It's just, there's over 120 languages that you can learn on this platform. It's really very user-friendly, it's really kind of a lot of fun. Some of our young patrons are testing it out, so that's kind of neat. And lastly, in the 2nd quarter, Ryan Brown, rec member Ken McClure, residents Chris Sargent and Kelly Taylor, and I participated in a town food drive, which really helped to stock up the shelves of the food pantry, and can't thank the town enough for always stepping up in that way. So that's it for the library. I don't know if you have any questions or. And none of my colleagues are here. They were all coming last week, but I think the rescheduling kind of conflicted with some things. But they've submitted all their reports. I could probably answer a question or 2 about the senior center. Not so much the others, but I will say Michelle Durkee, our Veteran Service Director. I don't know if you ever come in here on a Tuesday, but she's insanely busy. And she's really unique among VSOs because she not only works with veterans to help with their Chapter 115 needs, but she does a lot of VA claims, which many veteran services directors either don't need to by their job description or just choose not to. And I don't think she's ever turned anybody away. It's a tremendous workload for her, but she gets it all done. So, hats off to her. That's it.
No questions?
Easy.
No.
Thank you.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next would be E&D, Mr. Curtis, who is with us, remote.
Yes, I am. Okay, during this quarter, I attended a MEMA class on disaster debris management. Attended an EMD meeting with MEMA as well. The biggest part of what we did this quarter was working on the final stages of the update to our hazard mitigation plan. We did submit it on December 26th, which was a little over a month in advance of the end date of the contract. About mid-January, I received a call from MEMA requesting that I fill out an extension form for the grant because they felt they needed more time for the review and the approval of the submitted project. So now our end date is going to be July 15th. And hopefully it'll be done way before that, but we'll wait and see. We're waiting on them now at this point. Attended an online meeting with MEMA concerning the possibilities of an EMPG grant. This has still not come out yet, and we're not sure that it's going to. If it does, the project, the grant amount was going to be about $1,650, which is over $1,000, close to $1,200 less than we normally get for a EMP grant. So we'll see what happens there. We had a code red data breach, which shut down our ability to use the emergency recall system. I'm still having some issues with it. I'm not getting voice to go through, but at least the code reds are going out to text and email. So at least it's from my end anyway. I'll be checking with Eric Baker on that to see if I can fix it. The next item about Team of Six, that was a copy and paste error from the previous month. But in turn, it had to do with the next item. I attended an advisory board meeting on October 23rd. They wanted more information on the purchase, which was the invoice for the lettering. We got that all squared away with them. There was damage done to the EOC garage doors. It was noticed by one of our CERT members going in to do equipment checks. It almost looks like somebody hit it with a plow. Hard to say for sure. Could have been a car just sliding into it. We don't know. But I called the police department. They sent Sergeant Hall down. He took a report and pictures. And I called Bob Sosik. He went down the next morning and got the overhead door company there to fix the door so that they're operational. And there could be some future permanent repairs scheduled at a later date. Attended 2 select board meetings during that quarter. I sent in the quarterly report for the hazard mitigation plan for the grant. We have to print in quarterly reports. And under CERT activities, CERT held meetings October, November, December. They assisted with the parking and traffic control at the Warrior Fest. And that was requested by the Narragansett Regional High School and the police department. CERT members attended a CERT workshop in Hubbardston. This is something we had worked on over the summer. They held it on October 4th. And 2 of our deputy EMDs and 2 CERT members were teaching classes on stop the bleed and operating and setting up a shelter. They also assisted with traffic and pedestrian crossings for Halloween. And the last thing is message board usage. DPW was about the only one that used it for the whole month. They did a lot of road work toward that in that last quarter. So, and that's all I've got.
Any questions for Rich from the board? Mr. May?
None.
Yeah. Good evening, Rich. I have a question that relates to a question that I asked James. Believe it was the end of last week concerning the warming centers. And I got a response that it was going to be, there was something about, we don't get a lot of use, so if somebody needed it, they needed to contact someone, and I don't know where those details are, so I was wondering if you could explain that process, how you envision that working.
In January 24th and 25th, I believe, without looking at paperwork, we opened a shelter on Saturday and not one person showed up. A lot of man hours put into it. We ended up closing early because we do 2 to 3 people on shift for that type of an activity. So a lot of man hours was put in and not one soul stopped in there for any warming. The very next day we did not open, but I did put on the message boards that a warming center was available and to call a number, and that number is dispatcher's number, and dispatch will get a hold of us. And in fact, on that day, we had one person, homeless person that was living in his car. He came in, Mike Dixon went over, opened up for him, sat with him for about 3 hours. He left and we closed up again. Since then, we've had no requests. I did put it back on the message board saying that there is a warming center available with this dispatch number. If anybody is in need, all they have to do is call and we'll go down and open up.
Could you, I'm not on social media or any of that, so what message board are you talking about?
The electronic message boards, the one outside Town Hall, the one at Templeton Center, and the one in East Templeton, Baldenville.
Thank you.
So on social media, there was a post during one of our warming sessions, and it was said that it was only for senior residents, which is not true. Is there a way to make a clarification throughout the town that they understand that this is for especially homeless folks? And also, if the police have found somebody, I would assume that they would contact you to open it for them too. But, you know, it's getting really crucial out there lately, and we're concerned about our homeless, and we're concerned about our families that might lose power, unfortunately, or maybe didn't have enough oil in their house or something to understand that they can request that service as well. It did not make it clear on the Facebook post that I had seen, and people thought it was just for the seniors, and it was a little concerning when I had seen it.
I don't know who does the Facebook page, but I could mention it to the TA's office and see what we can have done about changing that so that the people know, but it is for anybody and everybody. There is no age difference, or you don't have to be a senior to go there for this.
I had seen it on the CERT page too as well, knowing maybe to make a clarification to them so that they understand how it works too, would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, on CERT, where are their minutes located? If a resident wants to find them, is that on their personal page? Do they have a link to their minutes? Do you know?
As far as I know, there are no public view of those minutes. I have most of them.
Okay, they have to be made public, being a nonprofit, they have to make them on their site. It has to be a place where people can get them. Just like the town, they're required, as well. Just giving you a friendly heads up.
Okay, just so you know, we're not a nonprofit organization. We don't have that status.
So what status do they have? I know that they get
They're
some of the grants through us.
They're volunteers.
They're volunteers.
Yep.
Their minutes, I mean, if they're having a meeting, a public meeting, regardless, they should have minutes, and the minutes should be available to the public. So especially if people want to volunteer or for the program, they could understand better by seeing what they vote for or do during their meetings. It might be helpful to get more folks involved, if they understand having some kind of minutes or something, if they have any meetings. I always found that when I wanted to volunteer, I would go looking for minutes for whatever organization I was volunteering for, so I could see what I was gonna get myself into. So I think it would be helpful.
Okay,
Something to think about.
Anything else for Rich? Set. We're all set. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rick.
thank you.
Next item is something in the personnel policy regarding holiday schedule and what days they fall on. And I put this on there so we follow our policy. It has been in front of this board several months ago about the need for addressing the personnel policy, a lot of grammar, a lot of wording, things that don't match up. And this seems to be one of them. Under the, on page 22 of personnel policy, it says per Massachusetts law, holidays falling on Sunday are celebrated on Monday. All holidays falling on Saturday are celebrated on Monday. Except when you go look on the Secretary of State's page. And this is, there is a couple of laws that state this as well. As far as the state holiday calendar, it states below is a list of all legal holidays observed in Massachusetts. State, county, municipal offices are closed on these days. Holidays falling on Sunday are observed on Monday. Saturday holidays are observed on Saturday. Federal offices are only closed on federally recognized holidays. So, and I think this has just been something that, I don't know if it's made up by a town employee or from an office. That if a holiday, if Christmas is on a Friday or a Saturday, you get Monday off. If it's on a Saturday, you know, we're getting Monday up no matter what the holiday might be. But that, what's in the personnel policy currently does not match up with what the state law says. It's, and again, this is something the board has, in my opinion, needs to address. And I put this on the agenda to follow our select board policy. In order to change a policy, it has to be on at least one meeting prior and discussed or brought up before we can change a policy. And again, it's if the holiday falls on a Friday, it falls on Friday. Taking the Monday off, it's almost like employees are just looking for a reason to have another day off. The residents who pay the bills don't necessarily get those days off. And it's only a couple days out of the year. It's the luck of the draw. The holiday falls on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. When it falls on a Sunday, then you're getting a Monday. And it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Some holidays like Thanksgiving, there's just always on a Thursday. But again, I put this on the agenda to bring it to the board's attention. So when the personnel policy comes up, it has already been following our select board policy. If the board votes to change this, to make the wording actually match up with the state law.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I don't understand what this has to do with the parts of the state law you mentioned. So our policy, like many towns, says that the following are paid holidays, and it lists all of the paid holidays. So if you're working for the town and you are a benefited employee, that means you get paid on all of these holidays. As you know, town hall is closed uh, on Fridays, and the day after Thanksgiving is a paid holiday. So I guess historically what the employees chose to do, instead of taking payment for that day, which they would be eligible for because it's a paid holiday, they would take it as a floater and then split it up on other days. So I guess if the board doesn't like the approach that the employees have been utilizing the last few years, later in this year, it was part of our plan for me to update the personnel policies. If the board would like to give me guidance on whether they'd prefer the employees to get paid for that day, or if they'd prefer the employees to take the floater holiday individually. But I think it made sense to take care of the half-day holidays, not to mention you would be saving on energy costs as well. And we know that foot traffic the week of Thanksgiving and the week of New Year's is very minimal, if any. I would need guidance on how you would like me to update this.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I agree with James on the floater, they had talked about the floater holiday and how they don't have, they don't work on Friday, and how they had arranged it over the years. I have been told that, so the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve, which in many people's, opinion, Christmas Eve is a holiday, but that will be a different discussion. Is a half a day. They would use it as a half a day and take it off, and then they would use it as the Thanksgiving the day before is the same thing. The numbers of people who come in the day on Christmas Eve to this building or to some of the other buildings are very limited. But there's a difference between this building and this policy and our other buildings too. Some of them, like DPW, they have a lot of contract stuff involved, but the ones that don't, they work on Fridays. And then we have the other ones where, like the senior center, they're limited on which days they're open, but they're part-time and they don't really have a full-time person there. So this would more probably affect our full-time, our librarian, than any other ones in the other buildings, because many of them are part-time. But having I do agree with the chair, having a good guidance on how to do this. But we did direct James to go through our policy and to figure out the best practices. I don't want to upset employees too, changing up the game when they've been hired for so long and counting on these certain days off or these certain mentalities. So I think that James should do a good survey of our employees to find out what would be best practices for our employees on these days, because it affects them more than it does me as a select board member, because they have to work it. And it affects the residents if they're open, but I've been in here in those couple of those holidays, but they were open, so there was really nothing happening. So it's a waste of funds.
Anyone else? And again, I put this on here because we have had a discussion that the personnel policy has many little things in it, nuances that need to be corrected. For instance, it says Board of Selectmen in it throughout a number of places, and the board changed its name 2018, I think, 17 or 18, whenever it was. It's been a while. And things like this were never addressed. And if it says a half a day on a day and somebody comes into town hall and it's closed all day, again, how does that be? So again, this is on the agenda to be in line with our select board operating policy. So we can discuss this and vote on a change. We have to have it on at least one meeting prior. And again, it says follow state law. Well, it's not matching up. And I believe if you're gonna have a policy, then it should line up with everything else. It's in that personnel policy, one instance, it says personal use of town vehicles is strictly prohibited, but yet you can find contracts that imply or state the vehicle can be used for some personal things, but it doesn't explicitly state to take them home. Our personnel policy says that is explicitly forbidden. So there's just all kinds of things in there. And this is one where I know several people came to town hall going, it's gonna be open in the morning, it was closed for the day. Doesn't follow the policy. So in order for it to be addressed or discussed and voted on by the board, it has to be on at least one meeting. This would meet that requirement. Mr. May?
Yeah, I'd just like to chime in here. I find it a bit confusing. Myself, I didn't like the idea that the policy says a half a day on Christmas Eve and a half a day on New Year's Eve, and they were closed both days. I just got a problem with that. The other concern I have is like the day after Thanksgiving. Now, the folks that work 4 days a week, that's not a typical day of work. They normally have it off anyway, just not with pay. But like the DPW, they work. And so they have the day off, the whole day off. They get it off. They don't get to take the full day on Christmas or the full day here.
I mean, that's all by contract though, that their contract's different. This is basically applying to non-union employees.
Right, and this is another issue
they
that
could-
I have personally, and you know it, because when we did your contract, I, specifically tried to make it conform with what we had in the personnel policy. Because I do think we should be fair to all employees across the board, and some employees shouldn't get benefits that other employees don't. That's my hope.
So I don't think I don't have DPWs in front of me, but they get the same amount of holidays, I believe. Police are actually low on.
Same amount of holidays, but they work each one of those days too,
But they get that day paid off though.
right?
So they get a paid day off.
Yeah.
So this policy says the following are paid holidays. So if we don't like how we split up the holiday, fine, but then we owe town hall employees an extra paid day. So we'd have to pay them another day in that week's check. We can do that.
I'm just saying we need to do some adjusting of something here. We need to look at our contracts across the board, and everything, gets them to comply. They should all be very similar. There shouldn't be, this group of employees gets, more benefits than this group of employees, in my mind.
So, but we have to remember though, on Mondays, town hall employees work an 11-hour day. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they work a 9-hour day.
They
Well,
work
that works.
38 hours a week.
Yep, public works employees work 2 extra hours a week, but they work 5 8-hour days. So it's basically the same amount of hours, but they condense them into less days. So it's not like the town hall employees are getting an extra benefit. They're still working a full week's work. So they're entitled to all the same holidays that these other unions get. Doesn't matter what day it falls on, either owe them money or you owe them a day off. The town hall employees chose to take a day off, which I think was beneficial to the town. No one's coming in those weeks, so those 2 half days that were closed, I think we saved money those days. But if that's not the way the board wants to do it, I will make recommendations or try and make it more clear, but if you guys have an opinion about what it should be, it might save me some time when I start to review this.
When you review it, I'd just like to be reviewed so that we can make benefits to all employees more consistent. Or consistent with each other. That's the goal. That's all. And I do agree with Jeff about state holidays. that we should match. If we're saying,
I don't understand. So the state does not have a day after Thanksgiving holiday.
oh,
for
but the
any-
state doesn't allow, I don't think it is, I don't think Saturdays is celebrated on Monday for the state.
I don't think we do that. I don't know what that refers to.
That's what it says right here, though.
What?
A holiday falling on a Saturday are celebrated on a Monday.
Oh,
It does say it. I don't know if we have the opportunity or the chance to do it at any point, but if we don't, then it, no need to be there. We can follow the state law, and it wouldn't be any change to anybody. That's all.
no, that makes sense. Yeah. I guess I didn't know what you were talking about, but all right, that makes sense.
James, was it posted on the door that the offices were closed or just, I seen it on social media. Was it just on the Facebook and the town website or was it on the door as well?
I remember posting something on the town's website. I don't remember the doors, but I remember posting on the town website. Something appeared on the website that was incorrect to what we were actually doing. I don't know how it got there, but I ended up fixing it before those holidays happened. So we did post that we were going to be closed those 2 days.
Thank you.
Anything further from any board members?
Oh, I had another question. I know that we do have some in this building that can, I think they can vote because they're under a different board or a different section. About their hours. How would that affect them? And
I don't know what you mean.
we've had in the past where I've seen like a note, like things that are closed that,
I would just,
they can make their own decisions because they have a governing board.
I mean, I think
They just
I
go-
know. I mean, I think if you know, whether it's the assessor or Laurie Witt, they have to follow this.
Okay,
But if you see a notice on a door, it could be just a staffing issue because you know,
yeah, oh, yeah,
would-
if they have a meeting or something like
or
that.
just some of our employees work part-time and maybe the full-time person was out sick and the office is closed. If I'm at a meeting and Jill's out sick, we've had to close the office.
Just wanted to make sure that the clarifications, can those be posted online too, if that ever happens, where the people could go and check on like the website or the Facebook account, that maybe they don't come all the way down here because it's not being staffed in the office due to unformed circumstances in one of the offices.
Yeah, we've tried to do that in the past. A couple of times we put a notice up
Okay,
saying an office is closed. Yeah.
just want to make sure. Thank you.
Anything further? Hearing none, then we will move to the next item on the agenda. Okay, State earmark grant, administrator.
Do some reading here because there's a lot of information. So a little recap, several years ago, the town received a $200,000 earmark. There was a committee formed that was decided to use the money. That work stalled, and then there was turnover here and turnover at the state where our earmark contact was, and that person left. I was able to kickstart this project again, find our new contact with the state and speak with them about the earmark. We can in fact still spend the money, and I've even signed an extension, so now we have until June 30th of 2027. However, this is not a long time. This is the last extension, so it's use it or lose it. This is just enough time to get those items done. What I have done, I've prepared for you based off of the old EDIC recommendations, the tasks that I believe we can get done in this window of opportunity. The only difference between this plan that's in your packet and the old plan is that the old plan entailed having a market assessment done. This would involve a time-consuming process involving the hiring of a consultant who does this type of work and the time needed to complete this task, which would overlap some with the economic development plan, which is separately listed. The economic development plan can also be done by the MRPC, which has multiple staff members and a lot of experience writing these plans. Also of benefit being that they're a government agency, we don't need to procure their services. Additionally, as part of this plan, I would like to hire an engineering firm to review the industrial zoned section of where Route 2 meets in Baldwinville and Route 202 to create a plan for bringing infrastructure to that area. We could then use that information to have the MRPC at no charge to the town apply for a federal grant that would pay for that very construction. The idea would be to attract industrial commercial business in that zone. Finally, I would like to purchase up to 2 electronic signs, depending on the cost and size, to place out in front of Town Hall and possibly in Baldwinville. This initiative is good for advertising for businesses in town, but will also be a great tool to communicate messages out to the public, i.e. about town meetings, when tax bills are due, one-off emergency notifications, etc. We'll have to create a policy with rules for business advertising and revenue would go into the general fund. If the board would like to segregate those funds, then we can work on that down the road. On their own, the electronic signs will be valuable because messaging equates to transparency and the town values transparency here. There's also a little money being set aside for legal expenses. This plan is also flexible and I can modify the plan with the state if something comes in too high or too low and we need to shift funds. We now have until 6/30/27, as I mentioned, but that still isn't a lot of time to complete these tasks. So I'm hoping the board will bless this plan so that we can begin working on it. And so in the document that I put in the packet, I think it was a pretty simple document that sort of laid it out. Does the board have any questions about that? Again, it was, that was mostly the plan that the old EDIC came up with. But like I said, I dropped the market assessment because I feel that might take too long. Plus, the costs of some of the stuff went up a bit. So I shifted some of that money around. And I think that's it. Does the board have any questions about this plan?
I'd like to move to accept the town administrator's plan as presented and to allow the town administrator the authority to fully execute the procurement in the contract necessary to spend down the $200,000 earmark.
One item of note, it says, all commercial and mixed-use zoning districts should be reviewed. What I also think should be included is to look at all the parcels of town-owned land and if they are in residential or mixed-use residential agricultural, or are they in commercial zone area, and the sizes of them to see if we can move them and get them on the tax records rather than sitting there doing nothing. I
So,
mean, the town does own a lot of parcels of property. Some of them are very small, some of them are larger, but divide up which is in the commercial zone and the size and which is in residential, but
so
get those, moving.
Right. No, I mean, it's a good idea. That would depend on how much this costs. So the original, the main part of that piece of it is to look at that industrial zoned area off of Route 2. That could be $50,000 on its own. So if that's it, that would be it for that piece of it. I don't know. I don't know how much it would cost for an engineer to come and make a plan like that. But I agree, if we can add that to that line item, why not?
I mean, if there's some little parcel that's maybe the size of this room, and I believe there are a few, if you could just offer that to the bordering landowner, if they would, like to take it on, that would, again, get it off our books.
Sure.
And add it to the tax rolls.
Yeah, if there's any money left after speccing out for that engineering, I can modify this with the state and I might come back and just run it by you in a public meeting, but I can modify this with the state. The earmark's very flexible. I just have to update it with them every time we, make a change.
And I know the next item is grant opportunity, so perhaps maybe there's something in there, a grant available that could do the inventory on the town-owned land and see what's available or not.
Well, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Those are specific to items that are next.
We also have a bridge that's falling down.
So that's in my next item.
Is it? Excellent. You want to hear it?
But even if we took all 200,000, that wouldn't touch that. We actually do have a start on. We can talk about that next.
I just know that we're in process of kicking the can and then next year we blink. We don't know who will be in May and what their opinion, and I would just like James to take care of this and push us in the right direction. I'm sure if he has any changes, he would bring it to us. That's why I made the motion. We just keep on kicking this for like how many years now?
I do agree with,
Just to lose it.
yeah, I
I have a bad feeling.
agree with the anxiety of that sentiment because this is a good amount of work and it may sound like we have a lot of time, but June 30th of 27 is going to come up on us quickly, and I don't want the town to lose 200 grand. Are there any other questions from the board?
So a motion was made, right, Miss?
Yeah.
Yes, I made the motion.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. Do you have that?
Yeah, I have it right now for you. Aware of it. You know. You can see it in your email.
Not a question, just a comment. I'm pleasantly surprised that the money was still available.
Yeah, it turns out
Going back and forth and the info I provided to you, I was not
not hopeful.
hopeful that we were going to still be able to access this because I was hitting dead end after dead end after dead end.
To my surprise, when that COVID money came down to the states, if the states were managing it, they had a longer window than if
Yep.
cities and towns got it directly, and that was the difference.
Any further discussion? So on a motion and a second, how would you vote, Mr. May?
To this plan, no.
Okay. Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Stowe?
I have a question. Are we talking to the north or south of Route 2?
Oh, boy. I think if we had a map in here, we didn't give you a map in the pack now. So there's,
Templeton Colonial Furniture side of the road or the
well,
Gardner side?
so there's this whole, if you look on the map, there's this whole region that is zoned industrial. That's the region that they would look at. So what was your question, north or south?
Yep,
I mean, I think the zone incorporate is pieces of both.
pieces of both.
And so the idea with that would be, I kind of briefly mentioned it, they would design a plan, say, okay, this is what it's gonna cost to bring roads and sidewalks and lights and yada, yada, what else, whatever else goes into it. Then the the MRPC, no charge to us, would, write a federal grant for the actual cost to construct it. So if we did get that grant, then we could build that out and it could be used for industrial companies, or it could maybe even be rezoned, but it would be an economic, I guess, incentive for people to consider Templeton, because I think right off of Route 2 right there, it's a great location for something.
Are we talking about the same where the Mall of Templeton was supposed to be?
I wouldn't know that history.
No.
Mr. May says no.
It doesn't even have infrastructure.
Hmm.
So it doesn't seem good.
Mhm.
Very limited.
Yeah, because this is confusing, the industrial park site planning. We're talking two different areas here.
Well, it's zoned industrial. So you could in theory build an industrial park there, or infrastructure, basically. We're not building, how, buildings and garages and stuff. It'd be the
Mhm.
infrastructure so that a company or companies could locate there if they wanted to. So basically you get off Route 2 there on that road where like DPW is and stuff.
Mhm.
And so there could be a build out there of some kind. If you look on a map, I don't have it here, but I think there's one in a couple of the offices. You see it in purple. It's zoned industrial.
You want me to go get it?
I think there's about 160
Talking about
acres
Baldwin.
total between the couple of lots there.
It's quite a bit.
Sorry, what?
I said, I think there's about 160 acres between the two main parcels in that section. And $50,000 ain't gonna touch either one of them.
50,000 would be to develop the plan, not to
Yeah.
build the infrastructure. Once we had an engineered spec plan, then we could go for a federal grant. Lori could probably bring the map if you wanted to see.
I think I know.
Okay.
You're talking about Baldwinville Road.
Yeah, right, Lori?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a shot at a federal grant, but it would, we need the plan first.
That's a lot of wetlands in there.
There are.
I believe that would be a huge waste of money, knowing how much is in there. Actually.
Well, there's a couple other industrial zoned parcels, but, what's his name, Glenn Eaton of the MRPC, who also happens to be a resident here, was on the original EDIC, and he seems to know the area pretty well and thinks that it's a good area to look at.
I'll go with the yes.
Ms. Benson?
I'm gonna vote no.
Yes. We'll have a plan. And that's big stuff.
Sometimes.
Amazing. It's a favorite word.
Plan? Yeah,
That's surprising, I know.
A lot of money.
yeah, I just think we're wasting it.
Next item is grant opportunities, MRPC, town administrator.
Thank you. The first one, has to do with the Mass Trails Grant. I spoke with Sherry Bean of the MRPC a couple of Fridays ago to discuss a number of opportunities with them. One of them is the opportunity to sign on to a regional grant through the state's Department of Conservation and Recreation. By signing on to this grant, the MRPC would create a community trails vision document, which would identify existing trails, abandoned rail beds, connection options between us and neighboring towns, recreation paths, or potential sites, and more. This plan would also incorporate information from our master plan or any other relevant planning documents. Several other area towns have either had this work done or are going in on this round. So it's a perfect time for Templeton to join, as this is meant to be a regional grant. Having the plan also looks better if we were to apply for state grants relating to trails and recreation in the future. The only cost to the town would be 8 hours of our MRPC hours that we are given yearly, which are GIS hours. I believe we get 12 of them a year. The MRPC, if the board approved, would then work with town officials and volunteers to seek input as they create this document with us. So it's a planning document that we basically pay nothing for if we want to join in on this round of grants. For now, I've tentatively told them yes because they needed an answer, but I can revoke that if the board does not want to do this. But it's essentially free if you're not counting those GIS hours, which are just staff hours.
I have a question. Did you go into the grant writer's office? Because we were working on, Terry, myself and Graceland were working on some kind of trail grant that was available last year, but it didn't go through because we had talked to the different entities in the woods out there, the Snowball Club and different the Army of Engineers, they were involved in stuff. So just wanted to let you know that she might have documents in there about trails.
Sure. No, I could take a look.
Yeah.
I think some of the surrounding towns have joined in on this and either had this done or are in this round. And so when you take all these plans together, it might be useful to have. Plus, the other benefit of having this, as I mentioned, some state grants relating to recreation require a plan like this to be completed already. So it doesn't cost us anything. I mean, I'd recommend we jump on it. Because they're gonna do it all for us, so.
So do you need a motion to
Yes,
give you
please.
the work?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion that the town administrator to look into this and to pursue it for us and get back to us.
Yeah, well, the motion I'm looking for is to enter into this agreement with the MRPC for them to apply for us.
For a trail grant.
Yeah, for all the stuff that's mentioned, it's the Mass Trails Grant. So you could say motion to approve the town administrator to enter the town into the Mass Trails Grant with the MRPC.
So moved.
Okay.
Take it.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
Yes.
I vote yes.
The next grant, I will need feedback from the board. So it's a UPWP grant. The MRPC would write this for us. And if we receive the money, we could commission an engineering study on a corridor or intersection that the town or the board would like looked at. So if there's, let's say an intersection in town that's known for being dangerous. If we got this grant, an engineer would come out and create us a plan to change it. We would of course have to go figure out the funding of construction afterwards, but it all starts with a study or a plan. So no cost to this, the MRPC. As they kind of cutely told me, they're awash in state funds right now to do work for cities and towns, and this is one of the things that would be free if we wanted. But we would need to know, what corridor or intersection that the board would like to look at. So maybe this is one to think about. And, I can ask the chiefs and Bob Sozik, and we could kind of brainstorm and if there's one, we could pursue this grant.
Another thing I believe should be looked into, as far as any grant money or things like that, is for, solar powered crosswalk signage. Where there's triangle signs and they light up when you hit the button. There was an individual hit in Baldwinville at a crosswalk, and a street light is there. It was an elderly gentleman trying to cross the street. He got hit there. The signage, doesn't prevent people from driving stupid, but from a safety standpoint, the more that we can do to try to prevent that, I believe we should do. So if that's looking into dangerous intersections, I would also like if you come across things like that, look into that for funding.
Sure.
And that was on a I think, well, it's a state road, but I think it's town, it's one of them fuzzy things. So we may have to go to get approval from state DOT to actually erect the signs, but we don't know if we don't ask. So if we could include that
I will be on the lookout for that.
conversation.
But so I guess this one's just for the board to think about. So unless anyone has any questions about that, I'll move on to the next topic.
No, we can put this on maybe another agenda with more details, like you had stated,
Sure.
from different people to see about intersections.
Okay. So Main Street Bridge, I'm meeting with Ty and Bond in a couple of weeks to discuss the history and the work done relating to the Main Street Bridge. There was a study done prior, apparently, and so I believe I've received some of those documents, but we're going to meet and talk about all that. Simultaneously, I am working with the MRPC to find a funding source for the replacement of the bridge. They're helping me look into federal and state grant options, and so there's a federal one they were looking into, and I think there was a different state one that he was trying to receive feedback on, because so it's a federally designated road, so it's eligible for federal funds, unlike the other bridge whose name I'm going to forget. But both of them, unfortunately, are not eligible for the small bridge project because they're just a few feet each too big. So it's the limit's 20 feet, and one of them's like 23 feet, the other's like 25 feet. So it's just up. But there are other grants for this. So in a couple of weeks, we'll meet with Ty and Bond, and meanwhile, the MRPC's helped me look into that. So I'm trying to work on that a little bit here and there. And that's it on grants.
James, I have a question.
Yeah.
The Parkland grant will be coming out short, and I don't know when it comes out, next month or two. That's the one that Parks and Rec had gotten approved for the CPC funding on the contingency of the grant. without having a grant writer who wrote the original one. When they did the work they just got reimbursed from, would that be something that our office would be working with them since they are not in the grant writing business for the commissioners?
I mean, I guess we'd have to. I don't think they've reached out to me about this. I'm not sure what does I don't even know what the grant pays for.
The grant would pay, it would, the grant is, they had just listed it. It's a percentage that you get. CPC has funded it for the full thing, and then, when they put in for the grant, it would be just like the one that they got for the swing sets and stuff. It's the same grant. The grant writer would have information on the grant that they had done, possibly in her office or on, in her computer on, you'd have to get access to it, because she had filled it out, and many, of the different departments had helped her fill it out to get that original grant. But we would be eligible to getting recoup some of that money, which would allow CPC to do other projects, and the town voted for it on the contingency that they did get a parkland grant in order to do the ball field at Houghton Park. That's what it's for.
So if we
It was voted by the folks last spring, residents to
so you're saying if we don't get the Parkland grant, then the
can't spend the CPC funding.
well, we're already at the bid for that project though. Right?
The one at Houghton Park or the one at Gilman Waite. There were
Oh,
two-
sorry.
there were two-
Yes, Gilman Waite, yeah.
There were two articles that on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the second one.
Okay.
Yeah. They probably only talked about the first one since that one isn't about a grant that, and they know the grant doesn't come out for a while.
Okay, I'll keep that on my radar. Okay. All right, that's it for grants, unless anyone else has anything else. Anyone else has anything else?
No,
Read this up.
When he calls you, yeah. When Jeff calls you, yeah.
Good night, everybody.
good night,
Good night.
good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further on the grants?
That's it.
Next item is item M. Sewer bond issuance, town administrator.
So the sewer department has a ban which allowed for startup financing on the Crowley Road sewer project, and now it's time to issue a long-term bond. The motion in front of you is to be read by the clerk of the board, and from there, the board can vote up or down to approve the bond issuance. There's also some signatures required on some bond paperwork once the vote is taken. 30-year notes are a little under 5% right now, so when they go out, we'll find out what our percentage is when they issue it, but this will be to issue the bond on behalf of the town. So if there's no questions or comments, eventually Mr. Toth has to read a very, very long document. It's amazing how prescribed this process is. When you see the stuff you have to sign, it's unbelievable.
Packet to review first.
Nope, just that, and then there's all the signatures. So that's kind of the packet, yeah.
We ready?
Mhm.
Vote of the Select Board. I, Timothy P. Toth, the Clerk of the Select Board of the Town of Templeton, Massachusetts, certify that a meeting of the board held February 9th, 2026, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified, at which a quorum was present. The following votes were unanimously passed, all of which appear at the official record of the board in my custody. Voted to approve the sale of a $2,411,000 4% general obligation bond anticipation note, the notes of the town dated February 19th, 2026, payable February 19th, 2027 to Fidelity Capital Markets, a division of National Financial Services LLC, at par and accrued interest, if any, plus a premium of $37,635.71. Further voted that in connection with the marketing and sale of the notes, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated January 27th, 2026, as revised, and a final official statement dated February 3rd, 2026, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further voted that the town treasurer and the select board be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a significant events disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the notes for the benefit of the holders of the notes from time to time. Further voted that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as the town treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain tax exempt status of the notes and to comply with relevant securities laws. Further noted that any certificates or documents related to the notes, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document, and electronic signatures of any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purpose of the documents and all matters relating thereto, having the same legal effect as original signatures. Further voted that each member of the select board, the town clerk, the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions, execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. I further certify that the votes were taken in a meeting open to the public. No vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above votes, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of the town clerk is located on, or if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribing or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.032B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remain so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberations or decisions in connections with the sale of the notes were taken in executive session, and all accordance with general law, chapter 30A, subsections 18 through 25 as amended. Dated February 9th, 2026, clerk of the select board.
Amazing.
Nice job, Jim.
Excellent.
So to be clear, that was a motion. So does anyone want to second it?
Yeah.
I seconded it.
Any further discussion? A reread perhaps?
Oh, God.
Yeah. I missed that. Could you reread that? Hearing none on the motion. How would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso? And I vote yes.
I got a whole bunch of stuff for you to sign. We'll do it after.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is N, donations to the senior center. In the packet, we have two donations. From one from a group and the other from two individuals. At this time, I'd move to approve two donations to the Templeton Senior Center. One from the Knowlton Foundation for the Elderly in the amount of $625, and another from Anna and Mark Dickerson in the amount of $1,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I would like to thank both of these entities, the group and the Dickersons for their most generous donations. These just keep piling up. It goes back to what Jackie Prime said earlier regarding when the senior center held a donation thing for the food pantry. The residents of this town just keep coming forward and stepping up and stepping up. These are most appreciated and generous donations. I did ask the accountant where these donations were being placed. She indicated that the records show they are going into the Council on the Aging gift fund. There is the kitchen donation and there is the food pantry donation, but the food pantry is now has moved on to a private entity versus what it used to fall under the senior center. And those two accounts are pretty inactive, not much going on. The kitchen is, all intents and purposes, complete. But again, very generous donations. These are multiple. We have had multiple donations this board just in less than a year, and they're very much appreciated. Any further discussion or comment?
I would just like to double down on what you said, you know. They're very generous and thank them very much.
Yeah, I'd like to thank them too. Oh, Jackie, is this, Mr. Norton, was it, when they had the paintings there?
No, the Knowlton Foundation.
Oh, it's different.
Yeah, they've donated several
Okay.
times.
I
The
just-
Dickersons are actually two performers that recently performed at the senior center. They go to senior centers in the area, and they made a point of telling Ryan that Templeton Senior Center is the most special center that they visit. They get an unbelievable warm feeling from everyone at the center, and they were moved to make that donation. So that's pretty special. Like,
Very nice.
That's very special.
great crew over there.
Any other comment?
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear that they were so welcomed and accommodating. And it's wonderful that they chose to make the donation, you know. That just amazing.
Yeah.
So on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And again, thank you so much for the continued generosity.
Thank you, Jackie.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Thank
Already? Come on. Have a good night. Okay. Next item, contract signing authority, town administrator.
So I just wanted to ask the board, we had a talk a couple meetings ago about hiring authority and what the board was comfortable with me doing. The same question about contracts, mostly supplies and services and things of that nature. Usually things under $10,000 don't really require a contract, but some do. The question kind of came up when it was actually Jackie who they got a quote for moving all the books and stuff during the library renovation. It was 13,000. It's a contract. And she asked if I could sign that or if it had to go to the board. And I said, well, unless they tell me otherwise, it has to go to the board. So I wanted to know if there was a dollar amount threshold that the board is comfortable with the town administrator signing as far as contracts go. And of course, I'm always willing to give you an update the next meeting if we sign a contract for some service. But if there's a threshold that the board was comfortable with, I'd be happy to, do that. It's, especially for smaller things, it's more efficient if I can just sign and we can move on instead of waiting, possibly 2 weeks for a meeting. So it's up to the board, just to give you some information, under Mass General Chapter 30B, items or contracts under $10,000 just require best business practices. 10,000 to 50,000, we have to solicit at least 3 quotes. So you have to write a formal scope of services, and then solicit quotes from at least 3 vendors who do this type of work. And then over 50, you have sealed bids. So you have IFBs, which are just price-based, and you have requests for proposals, which have a qualitative nature to them. And there's a process in advertising and all these other requirements that go with it, but those thresholds could be thresholds for the board to consider, or split the middle somewhere. So I just wanted to ask the board what you're comfortable with. My recommendation is that I will take everything if you'd like,
No. No.
but what would you feel comfortable with?
Did we not have, sorry, Mr. Chair, did we not have this with our interim or with Holly? Or Adam, did the board not have to vote like for something like this before? Like, cause like the cable and things like that were part of this because they consider contracts. For some reason, I think it's in the 20 bracket. I just remember it. I could be wrong. You're the keeper of knowledge. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is it?
She was asking a question. I mean,
I was saying you're the keeper of knowledge. Did the town, the select board not have a margin number? It was in the 20 bracket. If I remember it correctly. The interim and Adam had it, was a small amount of money. Could have
It
been
was.
15.
It was in place. There is also a movement now. There's an act out there. I don't believe it's been passed yet, that will move.
It moves the dollar thresholds. Yeah, it'll change the 50 to 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine what schools do right now.
Beyond 50 up to 100,000, where you have that would be the new threshold for going out to bid. I don't believe it's passed yet.
No, it's a Municipal Modernization Act. There's a bunch of stuff in there. And you could, if you want, you could split the difference in the quote window. So it's 10 to 50. You could cut it at 25 halfway through that threshold if you want. So 25 and under, I could sign.
Any other board members have any concerns or reservations?
Would this be something that you would discuss it with the chair before you were to sign? Like to let him know what it was that you'd be doing?
It's up to the board.
Okay.
And
I would think
I aim to keep you informed, but
Yeah, I would think if we vote to do this, the only exception would be if there is something that requires the chair to sign or the entire board, but
yeah, like the
But there-
bond, like I couldn't do a sewer.
there are
bond.
some specific instances where that comes up. But I really feel if I.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
this would actually just, well, it would streamline the process.
The streamline and efficiency thing, you know.
The contract would not have to wait for 2 weeks, or as an example, we had a scheduled meeting and there was a snowstorm, so the meeting and then there were other meetings that were in the mix that were already scheduled. So to get a selectmen's meeting in there was. So it just, in discussion with the town administrator, it was just like, we'll just wait till our regular scheduled meeting. So,
I feel like that's the difference between having a select board and a town manager, though, is just being able to maintain and know where the money's going and be able to have discussions and keep track of everything that's being spent.
I just wanted to say that also a contract would be like to the cable company or something like that. That's why I remember this, that it came up with both Adam and Holly because of certain contracts like that. And we do spend significantly amount of money with these things that the town administrator was given the power in the interim to sign under a certain threshold for the minor things. Anything that would be more in our realm was always brought up to it. I mean, in my observation of the meetings, of the select board. I think if it stays within those kind of style contracts, like with Jackie Prime's a 13,000 contract, the department head is involved in that conversation. And that would stop the progress of the work. We don't want that to be an issue either. That's why I had said that I believed it was in the.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
yes,
Yeah. I'm trying to come up with a reasonable number, because I really don't want to give James free rein. But I don't want to constrain him to, $20 to go get a grinder either. But I'm thinking right now, if we topped him off at 50,000 on that would keep it under
the bidding requirement.
the bidding requirements and so forth, which I do think I would feel more comfortable right now with them coming back here, so at least I could see them.
Yeah,
But I would have I'm good with that.
Yeah, because right now it's the 10 under, what? You just have to, sound business practice, and then up to 50, you get minimum 3 quotes. And over 50, you have to bid, and that would generally be a pretty big project.
Big project.
Done by us, so.
$1,000 is a lot of money. $20,000 is a lot of money.
Well, $100 is a lot of money, depending.
Nowadays,
but,
let's go for it.
There's also the reason that, remember, town meeting back at 13? Voted to create position of town administrator, and then this board, in looking for a town administrator, we went through the job description pretty thoroughly, multiple meetings. And we have the administrator in there to do a lot of stuff. And this is the point in time where we have to show, we have to trust them to do our business, which is looking out for the residents of the town. While looking out for the departments, we're kind of a two-tier thing. So again, we have to show, if we're gonna have a town administrator, then we have to allow them leeway and show a certain amount of trust. Mr. May says, I don't want to give them the free rein to bank to sign a check, whatever you want, but we have to, if we're not gonna trust the administrator to handle some things up to a point, why the hell do we have them? It's, my viewpoint. So, and I think up to 50,000, which is where bidding comes into effect. I personally, I'm in agreement with Mr. May that that would be an amount. You know, $50,001. Sorry, you gotta come talk to your 5 best friends.
And if it, if it makes anyone feel any better who's, on the fence, when we go through the budget each year for bigger projects, you're approving already, the funding for free cash or whatever. So you're already kind of looking at these projects. Then the state prescribes methods by which we have to go out and get in this case, the quotes. So to solicit multiple quotes. So and then the accountant gets a copy of the contract, and the accountant is in charge of reviewing any charges that come through. So you have a number of checks and balances anyway, and I'm happy to, if I sign something under the threshold that you're going to approve, I'm happy to send it to you all via email for you to look at. So it's not like I'm hiding anything, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, it would be
Like
nice
this
to get a copy of anything that's signed so that
Yeah.
we're in the loop.
Yep.
I don't, necessarily care about the signing rights or whatever.
Yeah.
But just to be able to, identify a project that's coming through, simply put.
happy to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that being part of the motion.
I'll be honest, I think I would be more comfortable around the $20,000 range.
I like 25, I'm always conservative, so.
I don't have a problem, Really going. Where the money's going.
This bylaws.
Any further input from anyone? So I would propose, the motion to allow the town administrator signing authority for contracts up to $50,000.
Second.
Second.
I did.
He did.
Have a motion and a second. Any further input from the board, comments? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
No.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
No.
And
Oh, stress. So you get paid the big bucks.
oh, well, we take off half the people no matter what. Yes.
Remember, on
Item P.
all these things we can change at some other point too,
Correct.
just so you know.
Item P is Corey method or schedule from town administrator.
Yeah, it was, I thought we could talk about this quick. So the main group of volunteers that we're courting each year are the Parks and Rec volunteers, and Ms. Graves noted that in the past, the previous people in the office were doing it every 2 to 3 years, depending on who was there. As of right now, the way I see it, it's solely on me. And so I'm doing it every year. That's how I do volunteers. I did them in Salisbury. It's a lot of extra work, but the responsibility as of this moment is solely on my shoulders. So I'm doing it every year. I thought I'd give the board an opportunity. If you wanted to vote a different threshold to query these volunteers, I'd be perfectly happy with something else. But so long as it's just on my shoulders, we're going to do it every year. Obviously, the reason being people could work for us, go off and commit a crime and come back, and then we're in trouble. And being that it's solely on me, you would all look at me and be like, "Why didn't you query them?" So if the board would like to do something else and you make the decision, then we can do a different time frame.
Mr. Chair, I would like to speak of my experience with this. The town has traditionally did 2 years. Recently, in that office, the person in charge of it moved it to 3, which I didn't agree with at the time. For the last 20-something years, we've been in 2 years, which the folks come into that office, they fill out the paperwork. It's a high volume thing. So if you have 25 to 50 coaches, you have the referees because they're seasonal hires. You have the they're gonna have to do theirs anyway on a regular basis because they're the rehire. But and then you have the town clerk and all her workers too. And so, and then you have the senior center. I think that the volume and the liability to it, I think the town has done very well at 2 years. And I think a 1-year threshold will make a chaotic event happening into our office, in my personal experience. If you're talking soccer, basketball, your softball, you're looking at different coaches. So you could have like 50 coaches over here, 24 coaches over there with their assistants, and then you got another for this sport. And then you have what Carol has, and then what the senior center has for volunteers. I think a 2-year rotation has worked well for our town. And I believe that we should just go back to that. The person in charge never asked the select board. It wasn't, I don't even know what if there was a policy on it for our board to do it, but they had moved it to a 3, which, they had said that the reason why is they had not found anything to warrant to do more than doing the 3, but comfortability wise, I felt that 2 is the number. I personally get myself quarried, and 2 is good for me. If I have to come in every year and I'm volunteering, I'm probably not coming in every year to that office if I wasn't a select board member to get myself quarried. It's a lot to ask of the volunteers who are up and above. They've never come back with any issues. And they are coming back year after year volunteering. So, it's been the policy of the town to do a 2-year quarry check.
And I agree with Ms. Graves. It is chaotic.
Yeah.
But I hide nothing. What I'm asking the board to do is to take responsibility off of me and onto you. I hide nothing. It's
Yeah, that's exactly what it
Yeah.
is. He doesn't take a liability on a 1 to 2 year.
you're the elected officials. If you'd
Yeah.
like to, add a longer window, that's
I would have one question for you, James. What do you think of the 2-year?
I think technically speaking, it's probably pretty low risk. That something could pop in those 2 years, even 3 years is probably pretty low risk. Generally you have good people here in Templeton. And so I would say it's probably low risk that we don't catch something. I mean, it's probably low risk that something happens and we don't catch it because we're between quarries for a couple years.
There's no state law requiring any specific.
Nope. Unless I think there's different rules for like police officers and stuff, but not for what we're doing.
There's always the option to do at random quarry checks as well.
Yeah.
You could, I
You
could
could.
summon a volunteer or something, but
Different volunteer positions, they run with the term of the position. Scouting, it's at your renewal, which is annually.
As a mother of 4, I think, being on the safer side.
that's why I was doing 1 year.
Yeah, the annual.
No,
That's a
I get it.
2-year.
Yeah.
It's a standard. It's always been the standard to do a 2-year within the state.
But you're not
the
talking about school
recommendation.
employees, you're talking about, volunteers who don't do it on a regular basis.
That's right, they're like seasonal. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're here in the winter months, and then if you're not here until the following year,
exactly.
that's a lot of time to,
Yeah.
and speaking from experience, it don't take much to get in trouble.
In my experience, many of them are on both sides of the coin, the school and
It's
the
not
town.
beverage induced, but make poor decisions, make poor decisions.
It's a lot of work, but I think that staying with the 1 year.
And he acknowledged it's a lot of work, but he's willing to take it on if we choose to go that way.
Well, I do what I'm told, but it's it's, I'm covering myself because like I said, if I went 2 years out courting somebody and someone, got in trouble, you would all look at me and, I don't blame you because if we never had this conversation before, then it was a day-to-day administrative thing and I'm not gonna let you fault me if we
But
quarried him and within a year he got in trouble because it's.
But we're not quarrying our employees on a regular yearly basis either. They come in, they get hired,
Yep.
and that's it.
It's really the hiring process when you quarry people.
Right.
We could quarry, town employees, but if someone got into some real legal trouble, we'd probably hear about. The other thing too is that we talk about people in town hall, they're not working with kids. It'd be a bad news if our treasurer got caught stealing money from somewhere else, and then we'd be like, okay, can we trust this person with our money? But the main reason I think why we quarry coaches and referees and stuff is because they're around kids. And so being that we never had this conversation before, I'm quarrying them every year to cover my butt. That's why I'm giving the board an opportunity to make a change if you want. Because then it would be on you.
If I may. If I may. That's something I was thinking of. I was wondering if we could break it down. So that anybody who interacts with kids, it's quarried once a year. If you don't,
I mean, I think that's like 99% of what we're talking about. That's what that rush of like the kind of chaos that sort of happened. It was whatever season of sport just happened.
I have a
And
question.
it was all.
I have another question for you.
Sure.
We don't require it's coming up, we're gonna be talking about boards and committees and vacancies. And the state doesn't require us, but then again, it's a volunteering aspect. Is that something that we're supposed to quarry to people who are on the boards? Because you can be a commissioner in various things that involve younger people, but then again, you have to understand that the quarry isn't just about the younger victim. It's about a high, you have the senior center and stuff and vulnerable people. Can be a full-blown adult.
one more question about process. Let's say if you were to do it every 2 years. Would you, as the administrator, try and do it so you're doing half in 1 year and half in another year?
Yep. If you allow me every 2 years, I'm going to make it as easy for myself as possible. So next year, half of the volunteers will get quarried for 2 years in a row. And then the other half will go skip a year. And then the ones I quarry next year will skip a year.
And
So every year there will be a week.
Yeah, and the majority, in my personal experience on the Parks and Rec end, because does the most to have children. That in my experience, more than, I'd say about 80-something to 90-something% of them are the same coaches year in and year out for the last 5 or 6 years. They're not any high risk. We're constantly, it's the little level, it's your division ones. It's your babies, those parents are volunteering for the first time that are entering the system, but the ones that are here for longer, so it could be as simple as, is a year for new ones and 2 years for those who have been with us for a long period of time. It's a lot of work.
Now
I'm just saying
now it's getting too.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, that's true.
I would make a motion, that we do it for 2 years. With the split being done as James stated.
A second.
But we'll have to figure out how the split goes. That may not be super black and white, so we'll have to do our best. But just to be clear on that motion, we'll definitely do the every 2 years. But administratively, may take some time to figure out.
That's obviously pouring new volunteers.
Oh yeah, if you've never been quarried.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a big court. You're coming up.
Yeah.
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 You're coming up.
Just don't quote me.
Hey, I got one on file. I'll get it.
I can be elected, but not hired. But it's not on computer, it's on cards. Long time ago.
Okay, Jeff.
I bet you still have the card, right?
Bad decisions involving adult beverages. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. So,
Never, don't even know what you're talking about.
On the motion for Mr. May and seconded by Ms. Graves. Any further input, discussion? Hearing none, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Bessel?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is discussion on board committee vacancies. This has come up multiple times. Actually, Mr. Toth requested or mentioned this through an email of a number of items. And this is something that he has specifically brought up several times. I have made it at mentioned at meetings. It would be quote unquote an inventory of all the boards, committees, and commissions, whether elected or appointed. So we could have on the website the name, the terms, the expiration date, and whether they are elected or appointed, and any associated vacancies on the boards, committees, and commissions. In the past, we have had just vacancies of various committees. It has not been kept up to date. I know there are multiple members of this board, either they were on the board or before they were on the board, have seen it. We would appoint 2 people to the advisory committee, for example, and a week later, there's still 2 vacancies shown. And again, that's just vacancies. I just think it's something that is important. It should be done, and it should be on the website as voted by town meeting back in 2004 for town business to be posted. So people can go and see what actual boards and committees and things do we have. If you take the Cultural Council, for example, it's like 20-something
22, I believe.
positions on
And
there.
we're at risk this year of losing our cultural council
And they
because
can
people
only
are aging out.
you have to get off for a year.
Yep.
You can't stay on for like 20 years. And that's, I don't know if people realize that they are entitled to have 20, 22, 24 people on the cultural council. Some boards there's 5, some boards there's 7,
We have an issue with the our Templeton historical committee. Apparently, we have 1 member, 1 is deceased, and 1 has not been sworn in. So that board is not up to par. Except with the clerk.
So what I would like, and it's not necessarily a vote this evening, but I put this on here because it has been brought up. If we, to get this on the website, so right about now, it's I don't know, next week. It's paper polling season to see if you want to get your name on the ballot. Well, how many openings are there on all the different boards? We know there's one on the planning board, at least. But there are other boards and committees.
Is there going to be an opening on this board?
What's that?
Yeah, he's trying to get the 411. No, you didn't get nothing.
There is, I just think it's service to the residents, so in case, somebody's interested in volunteering, they can go look and see how many people are on there. And they elected, appointed, and how long am I gonna be appointed for? And if there are any vacancies, maybe somebody wants to try it for a year to see, if they want to stay on for another 3.
I would also like the Historical Society to get a couple new members, because they're not in compliance.
It sounds like there's two things, if I may, Mr. Chair. It sounds like there's kind of two things here. A, the website isn't up to date and maybe lacks some information. Like you said, every board and commission page should state, we are the Cultural Council and we have up to X amount of members who serve X amount of term, X amount of year terms, blah, blah, blah. So that information is probably lacking. And then there's a table in each page. So select board will show all your names in there. There's a chair, vice chair, clerk, member. And so that's one problem. And then the other problem is having an up-to-date page of open commission seats. And, probably should say, Cultural Council, one open and appointed by or elected or whatever it is, next to that X amount of terms. In Salisbury, we had a nice page. It was hard to keep up to date sometimes because the smaller committees would fail to notify us when, someone left or whatever. But we had a separate page that said volunteer opportunities and had all that listed. And then on the bottom, it had other volunteer opportunities, like to volunteer for at the senior center and stuff. So it kind of sounds like there's two things: updating these pages and a page dedicated to open seats, right? Right, two problems. Yeah.
Well, it can be done on one, and prior administrations, the feedback was, well, it would take so long to put together. I gave them an Excel spreadsheet. It took me about 7 minutes to put it together. It said, here you go, problem solved. And it just never materialized. That was years ago. And it's like, still waiting. So
Yes,
as
it
Jeff
is.
said, yeah, there were emails went back and forth.
And yes, initially
Yep.
it takes a little bit of time.
It does.
But like anything else, once you get it set up, it's pretty easy, or it's easier to stay up to date than it is to get behind. And it should be accurate information in case, the residents out there that, I got some free time, I want to jump on this or that or whatever. But some of the information is in the annual town reports, but again, the way the town reports have been changed in the last, since, I don't know, 17 or 18, the layout, it's kind of hard to find the appointed and the elected positions. So, and again, as service to the residents who have put up the money for the new website and to have a website for town information on there. Again, a spreadsheet on one page on the front of the site, easy to find and look up and say, yeah, 1 year, yeah, I'll do that. That's a 3-year appointment. Well, but if you don't have it out there, if they can't find it, and our government is dependent on volunteers by committee. It doesn't matter you're elected, appointed, paid or not appointed, you're volunteering your time to do something. And the town government, the way it's set up is we're dependent on volunteers because it is governance by committee. And this is not the all-powerful, all-knowing board that some people like to, or perhaps think we are. You want to get scary, go look up the powers and authority of the Board of Health.
Well, in the select board office, the assistant, executive assistant, those two desks when you come in. they took care of it. It was up to par for a few years. We were doing pretty good, but we didn't put the elected wasn't on. It was just the appointed, and they did a good job. There was a short window. They did a little, they were starting to get on a roll, and then it went back down to nothing. So I don't know if any of that stuff still exists in that system.
If there is a consensus of the board, if you have that spreadsheet still,
I can tweak it. Yep.
if we could go over that, it's, you know, a starting point. I'm just to get everyone. I don't expect it, you know, next week, maybe the week after.
Well, we'll see how much time Jill
Not
has.
this season, no.
But,
Well, no, we cut half your work for this year.
I
What?
think it
We
worked
cut
out.
half your work for this year just a minute ago.
Yeah, bringing that
So-
up to the board, yeah.
In your free time,
Yeah. All my free time.
yes.
Sounds like a job for Jill.
Keep
Yeah, it sounds like a job for Jill.
But I would say that in, let's say, the last decade, the list of volunteers and positions available, more times than not is inaccurate, whenever you look at it. So it would be nice to have something that is more consistent, that covers all the boards and committees in the timeframes, and is just a simple look. Rather than, well, is it, you know, and then you go to apply for something and it's not even available, or, you know, they're like, oh, you know anybody else?
And then all those chairs can just, like, if they have a changeover, it's their responsibility to let you, your office know, so that Jill could make the appropriate, changes. And also the clerk, because they are supposed to tell the clerk when somebody gets off, and they're supposed to tell our, the select board office too, so. I don't know if that's still happening, but that was the protocol for this for many, many years.
Well, once we get it up to date, we can send a message up, but I will tell you that is where it breaks down.
Yeah.
So once we get it up to speed, you'll only be off a little bit here and there because of that, so.
And it's not a challenge that's unique to us. It's, everybody's got the same issue.
But when they have a member that gets off their board, commission, or committee, they're supposed to get it in writing so that they can send it to you and send it to them. They're supposed to get it from the person who says they're off, because they could just say it because they don't like somebody or something, you know?
Yeah.
But they're supposed to actually get that in writing from the individual, because I was in the unique situation where I had someone on my board for a whole year that never came to a meeting, and I could not get that letter from them.
Right.
So I know that was protocol for the Senate.
All set with that one. Next item R. The advisory committee letter for the board, Ms. Graves.
Yes. So I asked to have this put on here because the advisory has, talked about it and, for many times, and for us to look at it. I don't agree with many of the, statements in the actual letter. I think it's a very strong letter. It was never looked at by council, but I do feel like the advice that we have gotten from the, school, the superintendent of schools and many others over the last year about us having our council send a letter to them. It's a vote for them to put it on a warrant up or down, but it is in their ballpark. The regional contract is in their ballpark. We're all waiting. The school committee did their vote. We did our vote with an amendment. It was sent to them. So it's there, you know, up or down or amend and send back, but it's in their ballpark, and it's gone on long enough. And I would like to see, I mean, I looked at their last meeting and it didn't seem like it was on their agenda to talk about it. And I'm really worried that it won't be in their annual town meeting on a warrant to vote. And I really would like to see our town council, you know, draw up something, maybe not as strong as what advisory has recommended in this letter. There are some things that I think are okay, but there are some things that might be a little bit much. That's just a personal thing with me. Other board members might have something different, but I think a letter is in order, because that is what has been recommended to us many times now. And until I see them voting up and down, to even put it on their annual town meeting on a warrant, I'm not comfortable it's ever gonna happen. No offense to my neighbors. Because my neighbors in whole don't all have the say, it's just to get them to go to these parts. It has to go from one body to get to them. And I would just like the ability for my neighbors to be able to vote up or down and not be worried about this situation anymore on their end either. So it's kind of a personal thing, because since I'm bordering both towns and where I live.
So on that note, I did go to the last select board meeting for the town of Phillipston. I spoke to the chair about this. And no matter which agreement you look at, the first one, 5677, or the 2004 one, which was voted on and signed by both towns, select board chair and the school committee. It just has never gone to Desi, to the best of my knowledge. So I asked the chair if they had planned to put the amendment in front of town meeting per the agreement, no matter which one you look at. He's told me that he would, at the end of their meeting, he would speak to the other two members and see what the feeling is. I sent a follow-up email today to their administrative officer and to the chair. And prior to coming to the night's meeting, I had not got a response yet. Just as a reminder, though, there, as far as the building of the elementary school, and this goes back some years to 2006, where Phillipston was asked if they wanted to participate in a regional elementary school, and they voted no. They said they did not want to take part. They wanted to keep and maintain their town's elementary school. So Templeton voted after many, many years back in 2015 to build an elementary school. And per the agreements, regional agreement, and in the law, it's a call of the school committee, to vacate a school. And that's what happened. And a reminder is, if Phillipston Elementary School has remained open or is open back up again, Templeton pays 85% of the cost. That is in the agreement. No matter which one you look at, it's spelled out. The percentage is 15% Phillipston, 85% for Templeton. So one, in the letter, it says Phillipston owes us this money for the debt payment. I don't see how that holds up, because Templeton voted to build that school and take on the debt themselves. Phillipston voted, said they didn't want nothing to do with it before we even voted to bond out 47 million, I believe, in November 2015 to build an elementary school. So we went on our own. You also, you can't kick kids out of school. That's just, first there's a state law that the towns have to provide and maintain schoolhouses, and there's compulsory education up until whatever age it is that you can quit school. So, you can't go kick kids out of school. It's just nonsense. As far as forcing Phillipston to pay the debt, it's Templeton building. But the regional agreement amendment, that is something that I believe, because again, no matter which agreement you look at, the one back 56, 77, or the one in 2004. That was voted on by both towns, town meetings, and signed by the chairs of the board of select. And it was voted on and accepted, signed by the school. If there was a step missing, whether that nullifies that agreement or not, I don't know. We're supposed to review the agreement every 5 years anyway, and that was clearly not done. Then there was the district reorganization meeting, which I served on. And there was a presentation in the auditorium, April 24th, 2018. You can see it on TCTV archives and watch the whole thing, where different options were presented and the people that were there didn't want to close. One option was to close or just have pre-K at Phillipston, and then all the other kids had one elementary school, and that went over like, it didn't go over at all. They have been clear that they wanted to keep their elementary school and keep their kids there. The legal issue, I believe that we have, and that's what it's gonna come down to, I think we're gonna have to do it, is the refusal of the select board, and it's two different boards, correctly, that have refused to put it in front of town meeting because they don't like it or they don't see benefit in the amendment. Well, give the people their chance to vote. And they haven't done that. It's a requirement of the agreement. And I think that is the issue that we have. And that's going to have to be proceed legally. I think we've talked about it. It's been, dang it. All these dang things. It's been discussed and kicked around and mentioned, different meetings. So, as far as the content of the letter, that would be something that I would push forward. But as far as Phillipston owes Templeton money to repay a debt that we voluntarily took on because the school committee exercised their authority under the law and in the agreement to close the Phillipston Elementary School, I don't think we have a chance in heck of doing that. It was tried in the amendment. Again, if Phillipston town meeting voted on it and approved the amendment, well, then that would be in there. But right now, I think that the option that we have, and I think it's worth a shot finding able to do it. Town council, something, and pursue that legal option as far as they're not following the agreement. Again, take a pick, take your pick. 56, 77. You don't think 2004 is legal because Desi didn't sign off? I'd have to hear that. Have somebody look at that as well.
Mr. Chair, if I might. You just hit my concern right off the bat is, first off, I would like to know if we have right now an agreement with the district. Because, like you said, there's 56, 77, 2004, and the one that's in process. And from any discussions that I've had with the superintendent and so forth, it seems to always go back right now to the 77 contract, because that's the only one that's been signed by everybody. And the problem that I have with the 77 contract, it doesn't cover the things that we're doing now at the school. That 77 contract doesn't have pre-K in the contract at all. So, and I believe somewhere in that contract, I don't have it in my head. But I believe in that contract, there is a shall do. At some point, there's a requirement to either review it in 5 years, or there's some requirement that there's a shall in there that makes it that if that shall was not done, the contract this question. Well, that's the first question I would have for legal counsel is, do we have a legitimate agreement today? And if we don't, that brings up a variety of other questions. You know?
So again, my thought is the 2004 agreement. Yeah, it was voted on at the two-member towns, and it was signed off by each selectman, or selectman chair and school committee. Is that, and it didn't go to this, for some reason,
Which is.
Is that
another signing
what-
authority.
that's, to me, would be the first thing we need to get straight. And the second, because the amendment has not been voted on, does that null and void an agreement? Just because if the amendment gets voted down, does that mean that the agreement's no good? No, it just means that changes that were put in there do not go into place. So, and from my conversation with the chair, my takeaway was, and this is just, my takeaway from the conversation. I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but because he said he would ask, but he said, we don't see the benefit to Phillips. I said, well, I know, you don't. I don't like some things, but that I put in front of town meeting, but my duty is to put it in front of town meeting to give them a vote. And that hasn't taken, and that is stated in the agreement that amendments shall be put on the next annual or special town meeting by the member towns. And if the board is refusing to do that, again, that's where I think we have legal work to do. So does Desi not signing off on the 2004, does that mean that agreement is null and void and we fall back to 77? That's the first question, and then those then selectmen refusing to put it on the warrant in front of town meeting. Is that a legal issue that we could force them to do? The debt thing, unless they pass the amendment, which I don't know why we do. But that would be a separate thing. But it says you shall do it. It shall be placed on the annual special town meeting. Maybe nothing that we're going to solve this evening, but
Are we asking the town, excuse me, Mr. Chair, are we asking the town council to look into those, ask the council, the town administrator to ask the council these questions? And are we asking the town administrator also to ask them to draft up a small letter to say that the school board and the town of Templeton has voted in good faith and that they are in breach of not, whatever it is the town council needs to say on how they need to put it on their floor. You know,
and
I'm all in favor of that.
I'm thinking that there is also the chance, because of these questions being raised, that a school budget doesn't get approved and we end up in a 1/12 budget, which would be 1/12 of the previous year's fiscal year's approved budget. It's how it's supposed to go. The last time we went in 1/12, they didn't do that. Yes, he placed the proposed budget, which myself and when Carter was here, we went round and round and deaf ears that way. Yeah. So if there's a consensus, the town administrator has weekly conversations with town council. And Mr. Duff.
Mr. Chair, serving on the RAC, the Regional Agreement Amendment Committee, that process took over 18 months. far longer than it should have. Regardless which version we look at, one of the requirements is once that RAC finally was signed, which was a very painful process, it does require the member towns put it in front of their town meeting. There's the first dilemma. When it did not make it in front of Phillipson's town meeting, DESI once upon a time had language on their website and what was the remediation process that has long since been removed, where the commissioner had a process that they would instruct the non-participating member town to do just that. That is no longer there. DESI has had a change in a commissioner. DESI has had a change in a deputy commissioner. When I made some phone calls trying to figure out what are the next steps, nobody seems to know. And the interim commissioner didn't have an answer. The new commissioner has no clue what I was discussing and talking about. So there's a whole conundrum and series of concerns. So yes, advice from legal counsel would be very highly recommended and suggested. And I will withhold further comment. I have my own views on do we even have a district, but I'm gonna stop talking.
So under the 2004 agreement, under amendments, an amendment may be proposed by vote of the regional district school committee or by vote of any town meeting of any member town. Any such proposal for amendment shall be presented to the secretary of the regional district school committee, who shall mail and deliver a notice in writing to the board of selectmen of each of the member towns that a proposal to amend the agreement has been received, and shall enclose a copy of such proposal. The selectmen in each member town shall include in the warrant for the next annual special town meeting called for the purpose an article stating the proposal or substance thereof. Such amendment shall take effect upon its acceptance by each of the member towns at such next annual special town meeting. And it says that in the 77 and in the original one. It's a little harder to find in the original one. But, and you can find those on the district website. Again, I served on the district reorganization committee when there was the options of keeping both elementary schools open, or all the 1 through 5th graders would go to Templeton, 6 through 12 would go to Narragansett, and the pre-K would be in Phillipston, and those were shut down and voted no. So I guess that the first one that we should try to find out would be, is the 2004 agreement good, since it did not follow the process at that time. The second would be the amendment issue, failure to put it in town meeting. Can it be forced, or do we have to go to court?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I've heard different versions on that. Desi said this, and now, no, they don't know, no comment, or they don't know, because I believe the commissioner now, Division of Elementary, Secondary Education, it is an interim individual filling in temporary, because the last one, kind of moved up into another position. I forget which. I can't. Trying to keep that straight. It's like trying to keep the other stuff straight. So if there's a consensus of the board to have the town administrator to go down this road and inquire with town council, the effect of the 2004 agreement, since it was voted at 2 town meetings and signed off, but it did not go to DESI, does that negate that one? And do we fall back on the 1977 agreement? And how do we go about getting the amendment voted on by both member towns?
Do you think we could get that by our next meeting? Answer?
Yeah, recommendation or that the answer to those questions, yeah.
Put it on our agenda.
Mr. Chair,
If we have an answer, it will be,
Could we also, just as a general question, ask for the council's opinion as do we at present have an agreement? You know, because I know you're asking about, you know, is the 24 acceptable or do we revert back to 77? I want to really know, do we have an agreement?
well,
Period.
we would have one if the 04 is, because that's the one that's getting amended, that the amendment was based on. If I remember the rack stuff.
Yes.
correctly. Which I was an alternate and I tried to keep up with it, but it was took way longer than it.
18 months.
But that's a good question. But,
Yeah, that's,
you know, if that 04 one is or not, do we revert? Because the 77 agreement is before the
education.
the education
Reform.
big thing up and I'm not gonna say that. 'Cause
Smart move.
But, you know, it's a question I asked about.
Hmm.
The reason and, I'll keep that to myself for the time being, because I'll get us in trouble, or I'll get me in trouble, somebody in trouble. They'll be doing a query check on me.
Should we make a motion then?
Do we need, I think, action order.
So we have those
Something.
questions for the administrator, for the town council.
Sounds like the board wants it, so you can take a vote if you'd like, but I think the board wants me to answer those questions, so that's fine.
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if he has the answers, that will definitely be on our next agenda.
Yeah.
Our last item under, new business is, an open meeting law complaint. This individual filed one with us previously. This is basically, a repeat, making, the same issues, on some things that, we are still in discussion with regarding the police department contracts for, the unions for police and dispatch, which no one can have until the contracts are voted on and signed, and for other items that do not exist.
Mhm.
So I would make a motion for the board to allow the town administrator to respond to this complaint.
So.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion. How would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Vasso?
Yes.
And Ms. Manisy, yes. So. We have nothing under old business. With. At the end. Board member comments. Mr. May?
He left for a moment.
Ms. Graves?
Yes, I just wanted to wish, congratulations and a good job to the Parks and Rec, commissioners and to all their staff and all the volunteers, for pulling off their basketball season. I heard from a few residents that they said they did pretty good job. And I want to wish them congratulations on that. I did take a good peek at the kitchen at the senior center. It's pretty much almost there. And I did peek into the library on what the project they're up to. And it looks like they have some good stuff happening. But I want everybody to be able to use the warming center. So they heard that is a number given that they can call if they have any issues. Is anybody out there homeless? Please direct them to that phone number or help them make that phone call. We don't want anybody outside in the freezing cold. And any families that for some reason are having some issues with their heating system or anything, it's a good place to go for a little while to get out of the cold. Don't try to ride it out in a freezing home, please. We ask you. to make those phone calls. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Mr. May,
No, I'm good.
any comments? Not this evening. Mr. Toth?
Yeah, our Arctic blast is still upon us. Unfortunately, on my drive here tonight, I heard we have another snowfall gonna grace us tomorrow evening. 1 to 3 was what I heard. I was not happy to hear that.
Is that 1 to 3 feet?
This is New England. We can get 0 to 100 inches, or we might get sunshine. Who knows? Seriously, we've had some pretty serious snowfalls. DPW's staying on top of it. Power and Light has done an outstanding job keeping the lights on. I know there's been a couple hiccups, East Templeton, Otter River. But talking with Tom Berry last week at a different event I was at, and they were working some glitches over the substation in East Templeton he was aware of, and they were changing out some of the switch gear. So again, they're doing the upgrades and the maintenance, phenomenal work that they're staying on top of. But I listen and pay attention to all the surrounding towns around us. One sad note last night, I don't know if anybody caught it on any of the local news. Marlboro Hospital was evacuated last night. They lost their heating plant and half of their electrical system. There were 3 ambulance strike teams dispatched. They evacuated all patients. Everybody was removed safely. Not the kind of weather you want to be moving patients in at all, but to totally remove and evacuate a hospital is like, wow, a hospital administrator's worst nightmare. So community risk reduction at its finest, and kudos to everybody that was involved with that. That was a lot of work by a lot of people getting pulled in from all over. And everybody be safe. Keep an eye on your friends, keep an eye on your neighbors, pay attention to the critters, your animals, your pets. And just keep doing what we're doing. Takes a village, and we have a village.
Ms. Bessel? All right. I have talked enough for this evening, so I have nothing except a foot of snow would be nice, big guy. So we'll come to the end of the agenda. First things, I would make a motion for the board to work past 10 p.m. Motion made, seconded. On the motion, Mr. May?
Yeah.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Ms. Coe?
Well, I suppose.
Ms. Bassel? And I'll vote yes. On that note, I move that the board go into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss negotiation strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the police union local 155 and dispatch local 155A, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and the chair so declares, and I do. The board will reconvene in open session only for the purpose of adjourning the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Basso?
Yes.
And I vote yes.